Hello and welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Kat Siggers. I am your host, Kat, and today joining us we have Callie Schuttera, whose impressive body of work includes The Rookie, On Call, and the award-winning play Class, where she was personally cast by Gary Marshall, who some of you may know as the director of The Princess's Diaries, which is just, that small little tiny film. I'm sure you all remember it. I definitely remember it from my childhood. She's also the star of the hottest new horror film, Weapons, as Alex's mum, who goes from loving mother to possessed monster at the hands of her Aunt Gladys. Callie's here to talk to us about her portrayal as Alex's mum and life as a production company owner with her wife, Gabriela Ledezma. Welcome, Callie. So let's start. So, Callie, thank you so much for coming on today. There has been a huge boom about Weapons. So, what has that? I first of all want to know, what's that been like for you as an actor?
It's been, I don't want to say surprising because the script and the footage was so good that I think we all knew Zach was making something really special. But it is definitely, it's jarring to be part of such a cultural moment. I think that's what feels unexpected is just how many people across the world have seen this and have gotten to participate in it and see it in theaters, especially getting so many people out to the theaters is so exciting.
Yes, definitely, because it's something that there's such that streaming culture nowadays where sometimes movies just go straight onto Netflix. I don't know, do you know the Thursday Murder Club? Have you heard of that?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, it's kind of very British, but it was written by a guy called Richard Osman. It's a series of books and it's been made into a movie and it has gone straight to Netflix, but they've also had it go to the cinema here. And I'm like, that's what we need more of, because I do feel like this streaming culture is taking people away from cinema. So it's really cool that Weapons has gone onto cinema and that there's been such a big boom. I mean, everyone I've spoken to this week and I was saying, I've got this, I'm doing this podcast with some actors from Weapons. They're like, no way, that's so cool. I went to see that film or whatever. And I just think it's nice to see people back in cinema, isn't it?
It is. I do think you have to be respectful of people's time and wallets. I think that's something that's changed certainly since I was a kid, that the movies is not the most affordable option for entertainment. So I think a lot of it isn't so much that people don't enjoy the cinema, but I think a lot of it has to do with financial restrictions. And so I hope there's more options in the future for things like AMC Pass and other ways to affordably see a movie, take your family to the movies. Maybe not to see Weapons. Maybe that's not the family option, but
maybe not.
Yeah, because I also really enjoyed seeing it be such a part of cinema culture.
Are you a horror fan?
I am.
Oh my gosh, this was perfect for you then.
Yeah, it was my first true proper horror feature. And to be a part of something with Zach for my first true horror feature is really special.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, he's got a lovely way of blending humor with horror. I
mean, it speaks to his Whitest Kids You Know background for sure. Also something I was a fan of, particularly in high school. A ton of Whitest Kids You Know. But I also think that there's not a ton of genres that don't benefit from comedy being interjected here and there. I think it can really heighten any genre of film. So I think he does it particularly well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to dive into your character now. So Alex's mum, as she's called in the film, first of all, I found that really interesting that she didn't have a name. But I think, it's really interesting. She starts as this warm, kind of grounded parent, and then obviously transforms into one of the film's most terrifying presences. I wonder, how did you prepare for such an extreme emotional and physical shift?
They did definitely feel like two separate characters in a lot of ways. But I think the thing that brought them together is there's a little Easter egg, if you catch it, where Alex's mom says, I basically that I've lost my mom. And it's a lot of the reason that she decides to bring Aunt Gladys into the house. So I think there's loss on her side and trauma that's almost inviting in this negative energy because she's so desperate to connect with her mom. And I think that
Mm.
for me was the reason why she kind of made a choice that wasn't the right choice for her family and led to so many other problems in the film. I think grieving the loss of a parent can really drive you to strange places.
Yeah, definitely. So it was, by the sounds of it, it was a lot more than just this Aunt Gladys kind of creature, almost. Like it really was that needing for that parental figure. And I guess as an actor, was that easier to grip onto? Like it was more tangible for you to have like a real grounded sense of who she was.
Yeah, I think I love horror when horror is laid on top of what already feels like a dark situation.
Hmm.
I think that makes it like an extra level of creepy.
Yeah.
And I think for my character work, I actually imagined, that maybe mom had reached out to the esoteric universe and kind of invited in some way to reconnect with her mom and unknowingly then invited in this energy. So I think there was that, and there was a lot of world building to do off of Alex's mom. Like you said, she didn't have a name because to Alex she's just mom. And I think
Mm.
that's a common theme with parents. A lot of times you put aside what's going on with you to focus on your kid or your household. And so for me, there was a lot going on with her underneath. It was a lot of
Mm.
stress and managing of pushing down of emotions and worries. And I think she never let any of that come to the surface, but I think it was always there.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds almost like a loss of identity that this character was going through.
Very much so. I think that's
Yeah.
right on the nose. I also found that when she shifts into this sort of fugue state, I think
Mm.
that loss of identity plays very well. And something I think we all have in our adult lives where we think, gosh, I wish I could just shut this out and sort of be offline for a second. And I imagine that she kind of got her wish in that sense, but was then trapped in that place.
That's a really interesting way to look at it,
Yeah.
because it has that, as an actor, that natural evolution as well, and
Yeah.
a real reason why that would happen. And I'm curious to know what was it like changing, obviously, all your physicality, your facial expressions, and kind of that way in which you embodied this. It was almost like a possessed like state, right?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that living in that space of what if she had invited in this feeling really helped because it felt like then it wasn't
Mm.
just fighting against it, which I think would have played fine. But I think there's something even scarier about the idea that, what if a part of you wanted this? So
Mhm.
there's this sort of weird relief that comes with it, but it's a very dark relief, very creepy relief.
Yeah, very creepy. Aunt Gladys has given me nightmares.
Ah,
I'm telling you.
Amy Madigan's so fantastic. I mean, I think she'll be in all of our nightmares for a while.
Definitely. Like I am such a scaredy cat when it comes to horror films.
Yeah.
I am terrible. I always have been. And when I watched this, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna sleep for at least a week.
And some of her
She
scariest moments are not like her demonic moments. It's just her talking to Alex or threatening
Mm.
Alex, I think, are
Mhm.
some of her scariest, darkest moments. I'll never forget when she was saying those lines to him, of what she could make his parents do to each other
Mm.
was terrifying.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, you're totally right. It was so much more scarier when she wasn't in that state, like 10 times scarier, because it's so much more cold and calculating as well, I think.
Yeah, and it really speaks to a child being manipulated by an adult and how frightening that is and how much control you can have through threats alone, which I think
Yes.
exists in the non-demonic world and hits a weird chord with all of us.
It was so much more than a horror film, really. Like when you peel the layers back and you put it like that, it sort of it shows human experience on so many levels.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, for you to be a part of that, what, you know, it being your first horror film, but it also being something that is much deeper than that, what was that experience like for you?
I don't think that part hit me until I saw a cut back in November of last year when it was pretty much done. The bulk of the film was all edited the way you see it now. And that was when I really was hit with the sense that this is something that is so special that it's beyond a horror film. It's an absolute epic, I think. And I love a story told in chapters when it's done well, and seeing people's worlds come together and how we all affect each other and how we're all a part of each other's stories, I think is so powerful when it's done well. And I just remember sitting in the theater and I watched that cut with my mom, and we just were both sort of taken aback at how well the story's told, even if you're not a horror fan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, you do have to have a certain level of being okay with the horror thing in order to get through it, I think, personally.
Yeah.
And I did have to really be like, okay, no, it's meaningful. Like, just stop being so scared.
Did you find you got jump scared from it? I know a lot of people were really taken aback by there's not a ton of jump scares, but I think they're done well when they're there.
Yeah, I that got me the most, like, for sure. Like, I think the thing that stayed with me is Aunt Gladys and the way in which she was presented and her, you know, her fantastic performance. But the thing that made me jump in the theater was the jump scares. That made me shriek and jump out of my seat. And I was not the only one in the cinema. I'll have you know.
They've been loud cinemas. Every screening I've been in, the theaters have been vocal.
Yeah. And tell me your bathroom door scene. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that was very creepy and very Jack Nicholson in The Shining, right?
Yes.
So what was that already planned in the script? Is that something that evolved during shooting?
Zach is quite a visionary director, and I don't just mean like in terms of the ideas. He very much sees what the final edit will look like while he's shooting, while he's writing. So there wasn't a lot, even though he was very collaborative and up for ideas, there wasn't a lot of days that we'd get to set and he'd be like, well, let's try this. Let's see what happens. You know, maybe we try this, maybe we try that. He knew what the end result was supposed to look like and had a very clear vision in his head. So we did about 3 days, I think, of just going through doors. And I do believe it was a very direct homage to Jack Nicholson. I don't think there was any attempt to disguise that was a direct homage. And I know he's a fan of The Shining. But yeah, I think there was an extra layer of terror there too, because you're being chased by your parent and the person that you hope to get the most comfort from, and to have no place to hide and have that person who's supposed to love you continuously break down every door that you try to close and protect yourself with. It was a scary one.
Definitely. And again, I guess it goes back to that thing of, you know, that reference to some children aren't safe at home, right?
Absolutely. And Zach's talked quite a bit about that a lot of Alex's chapter is based on his experience growing up and his experience with alcoholism in the family, and how he became not only the adult, but the person responsible for maintaining normalcy at home as much as possible. And I think the
Mm.
feeding soup scene speaks to that a lot. I think that's a deeply rooted reference for him personally. This idea that something comes into your house, takes over your parents, and then you have to try to hold them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And try and get through life without your parent really being your parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to this Jack Nicholson Shining moment, what was the feeling like when you realized you were going to have to do that? Was it one of like, okay, like I'm going to reinvent it in a new way, or I want it to be as true to what it was originally?
Definitely, I think you always wanna add your own layers to something, and I do think that at that point, our characters were so lost in the possession. I think that's the one area in the film where we are truly demonic. And so I let go a lot of character work there and just kind of let myself go feral a little bit.
Mm.
I think the thing that makes this so not so different from The Shining, but makes it its own thing is the Larkin's camera. I think some of the angles that he got um, of mom reaching through the door, or that underneath shot that's just a different view than
Mhm.
you get in The Shining, um, I think really just brought it its own flavor. Um, but I tried not to think too much during that because
Yeah.
the character wasn't thinking a whole lot there.
Yeah, exactly. And taking on that kind of feral like state, as you kind of said, what was that like as an actor to completely lose all sense of anything?
I think those are those are gifts, I think, to us as actors, but more as people. I think there's so few chances in adult life to be feral in a safe, contained way, and to really
Mhm.
let out a lot of those things that we hold on to as human beings. And to just kind of lose it is a gift that it feels like not everyone gets. And so to just have a few days of just let it out and let it go, and to have no care in the best possible way for how you're being perceived, for how something's coming off is a really weird, a special thing that I think actors get to do occasionally.
Was you quite physically exhausted after that?
No, I would say because it was, such a long filming process, we only did X number of scenes per day, so I would say
Mm.
we were lucky that we were never overworked or overused. We did have stunt doubles for those door scenes. Um,
Oh.
but we still ended up using them a lot and breaking them a lot and sticking our arms through them. I did get a bit scratched up one day reaching through one of the
Mm.
broken doors, but worth it.
Totally worth it to get that such an iconic scene, you know. It really it was, yeah, a few scratches, you can take that, right?
Absolutely. They were battle scars.
Exactly, and you'll be like, "Oh, I remember that time I did that thing."
Exactly.
So good, so good. Talking a little bit about Zach now as a director,
Mhm.
well, first of all, what was he like to work with? And was there a piece of direction that he gave to you that then changed how you played Alex's mum?
Yes, actually. He first of all, he's just a very lovely, involved director. He kind of feels like a kid getting to do his favorite game when he's on set. So he's right there with you. He's in the moment. He's next to the camera. He's on set where you are, feeling the moment. Some directors like to live at Video Village and give notes through their assistant directors. Um, Zach is too excited to do it that way. He's right there with you. And when I started playing mom in her original form, I think I was bringing a little bit more of like a classic warmth to her. She was a little bit more caring, I think. And so pretty quickly on that first day of working on Normal Mom, he said, I think that she's not that good of a mom. It's one of the things I like about her is that she's not a bad mom, but I don't think she's a good mom either. I think
Yeah.
she's missing a lot of stuff about what's going on with her son. You know, no one's really checking on his bullying. No one's looking into that or prying further about his day. They're sort of in their own worlds. And particularly mom, I think, is caught up in whatever's going on with her. So I actually removed a couple layers of warmth from her and
Mm.
made her a bit more of the mom that you don't necessarily feel comfortable going to with all of your woes.
Okay, so she wasn't model mum anymore.
No, yeah, and I think that was important. I think that added a layer of, like we said, darkness that's already happening in the house, a very light layer. I think a very normal thing that happens to kids where sometimes they just get overlooked. And I think I had been playing her. I was trying to do more of a juxtaposition of here's this super happy family and here's what happened to them. And I think Zach brought it to a place of here's this family that's kind of missing each other almost. And then something really happens.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's much more interesting to play with, isn't it?
It
Rather
is.
than all like one time, just like the first time is like I'm happy and I'm this great mom, and then I'm like this demon. Like it's more interesting to play the evolution of someone who's already a little bit scarred by life. And
Exactly.
then
Exactly. And then I sort of, not that any of something like Aunt Gladys needs blame in the family, but it almost gives way to what responsibility do you have as a mom for inviting this person into your life out of your own needs instead of doing the right thing for your family.
yeah, yeah, and because you know, as a mum, I mean, I'm not one. I don't know if you are, but
Yes.
you can kind of imagine that a lot of the time you do have to give up those what I need for what they need.
Sure.
Right. And so I guess it's interesting to play a mum that doesn't do that.
Yeah. And I think there's no perfect mom. We all can be better parents, better people. And I think in that moment, Alex's mom was not her best. And you're right. It's more interesting to play it from that angle than to start from like this picture perfect mom, which most people can't relate to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because then you'd end up like the Stepford Wives, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
You would get that kind of vibe from it, wouldn't you?
I think so. And I think
so
Zach does such a great job of making you feel like this family and this whole town are people you know. They all feel very real. And I think that a picture perfect family would not have been in line with this hyper realistic world that he was building.
I'd love to talk to you now a little bit about your other work. So you co-founded Poison Pictures with your wife, and you've gone on to receive critical acclaim with the film Blue. What is it like working alongside your wife and kind of creating that art together? Because I can imagine it's such a special thing to do.
It really is. A lot of people will ask us, how do you not get sick of each other? But we love it. And I truly can't imagine making art without my best friend on the regular. And we just wrapped a film on Saturday, a horror thriller that we shot in 9 days. And it's our favorite thing to do. We were just talking about it in the car yesterday, that it's truly our dream life to be able to make films together every step of the way, from writing to post-production. And it's our ideal situation, honestly.
Oh my gosh, it sounds dreamy, honestly. It
It
really
is.
does. Do you kind of take different roles within the company a little bit more, or do you kind of do the same?
So she definitely has skills that I do not have. She's a visionary director, and she's great at seeing the aesthetic and the framing, and she knows camera much, much better than I do. But we will sometimes say that I'm front of house and she's back of house. So I'll do a lot of the um, talking on the phone and negotiating with crew members or equipment houses. And then she's the one who really knows how to use all of those things and put those things in the right place. So definitely different roles.
Yeah, but it sounds like, you can't do one without the other. So it's kind of like you need to both be in it. And I
Yes,
guess,
definitely
I
times when
guess it's,
neither of us knew what we were doing, and we learned
oh
together.
God, no. And that's a beautiful thing, because I'm sure as your company grew, your relationship probably grew as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to do work that is often so demanding, you really know each other inside and out, in the most
Mm,
stressful situations, and in the most exciting of situations.
yeah.
We also do like music videos or commercials
Mm,
for companies much bigger than ours. Will be subcontracted out sometimes. So there's times where we've put up music videos for artists at like Warner Brothers or Interscope, and we've done those in 4 days. From the time we get the bid to the time
wow.
that we are filming, and those are impossible to be honest. So when you do impossible jobs with each other over and over again, you create a really special relationship.
I'm sure you do. And can you give us some more, like, are we allowed to know anything about your new film? Like a little bit?
Yeah. So this is our first proper horror thriller. We have been dying to play with blood for a really long time. Um, and so we've been building up to this one for a while. And it is a political dystopian horror thriller. And it's about a group of Americans trying to flee the country under a increasingly fascist regime, if you can imagine such a thing.
Mhm.
And they are on their way out using kind of like an underground railroad system of safe houses to
Okay.
try to get out of the country.
Wow. Wow. I mean, all I'm going to say is I don't think there's a better time to make a film like this.
We agree. We hope it's not like an illegal film by the time it premieres.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But I feel like the world, and in particular your country, might need to see that. Might just need to have a little look.
We think so too. I was
Yeah.
very inspired by the first season of The Handmaid's Tale, which came out in
Oh,
20.
I loved that
I
series.
do too, and it seems so timely, the fact that it came out,
Mm,
during Trump's first administration, and this idea in America, you're so overwhelmed with this propaganda in school that America is the best place, everyone wants to come here, and the idea of seeing people running for the border really affected me, all
mm.
those years ago, and I am excited to be adding something to that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I always say that any piece of art should be for a revolution. What revolution are you going to add to when you
I
create what
agree.
you create?
Especially when we have so much content available to us, I think it's more and more important to have art that has a perspective and an ultimate goal, really, because we have so much entertainment available. I think it's important to be continuing other conversations.
Definitely, definitely. So it's just so great that you're adding to that. So when, I guess you've only just finished filming, when's it going to be released? Do you have a release date yet?
We don't have a release date. We are just now starting the editing process, and we'll
Okay.
be working with some sales agents that we've worked with in the past. And we do think this is our best project ever. So we're going to shoot for the stars on this one and see. We've had wide releases before, and we've done well on the film festival circuit. So we'll see how far and wide this one can go.
How exciting. Well, you'll have to keep us up to date
will.
because, I, for one, would love to watch it.
Thank
so
you.
You must let us know.
We'd love to keep you updated.
For sure. Please do. Just sort of coming back to weapons now.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 words, for anyone who's not seen it, in 3 words, can you sum up weapons for me?
Epic, disturbing, and unique.
Epic, disturbing, and unique. There you go. Okay, Weapons is in cinema now. We hope that you go watch it because it really is an epic to be watched. And yes, it's scary, guys, but I truly believe it's a very meaningful film. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Kat. It was lovely to meet you.